Hi guys, this is Victor and Spunky Monkey, and today we're just going to be talking about basically how I made this little guy. So it's pretty simple altogether. I'll just talk you through how I started and just maybe little ways that I experimented and that sort of thing. What I used. So for Spunky, I have used 2 different size buttons for his eyes, and that's just a couple of elastic bands, loom bands through there. For his face is also, he is entirely out of loom bands. I have stuffed him with hobby filler. Hobby fill used for toys, and I didn't overstuff him. I didn't really need to put too much in there. I didn't want it to show through too much, and the bands were quite thick, you know. He has a little bit of weight to him, but not too much. Yeah, I used just cheap dollar shop bands, so he's not going to last, but I have been putting like a little bit of spray moisturiser on him to try and keep the bands nice and soft and not drying out. To begin with, I started with a leg, and I started with the same technique as I would making an amigurumi ball. So this is one that I made using Izzalious designs. This one is made out of cheap bands too, and it's been sitting in direct sunlight, so it's starting to fall apart. But so far it's all good. This one's made with rainbow loom bands. It's been sitting in the same spot as the eyeball, and you can see the difference. This one looks perfect still. This one is very close to falling apart. So I started the same way on the foot as if I was going to be making a ball, but I only extended it, or what's the word, I only went out to the second line, and then I kept it. I didn't add any more bands to make it any wider, and I just kept going. I stopped at the second line of my ball, and then instead of adding my rows, I just kept going round and round and round and round and round and round and round, and that's also how I got the effect of not having the join. Like, this is where I changed my rows, and I decided to make it obvious how I changed my rows with the colours. I could have blended it a bit better, but I chose not to so that I can show you. I've just kept going around and around and around and around. So I've gone 2 rows for the purple, and then I've stopped and just kept going with the blue. So there's no tie-off bands at all. When I got up to the end of the leg, I just reduced it. Every second band I reduced to make it a little bit as if I was doing, you know, going back to do the other side of the ball, but then I didn't close it off. I left it open, and I just put a little tie band on it, so I had that piece separate. And then I did the exact same thing for the other leg. I left them open at the top. I didn't stuff anything until right at the end. And then basically I did the tail too, but I made it so that, how did I do the tail? That's right. I stitched the 2 legs from the front. I had a hole here, and I stitched the 2 legs just as if I was carrying on my stitching. I started on one leg and went all the way around to where I had started, and then not looking at the tail. And then I went on to carry it on with the next leg, and I just kept going around till I got to there again. And then I noticed, I think I must have gone on and done another row, and I noticed I had a hole there, and I thought, well, I might just do the tail there. Next time I definitely will do the tail probably up about here. But yeah, so that's what I did. I started where the hole was, and I just added a band in, and I started stitching around the hole, and then I stitched off what I had stitched around, so it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. I already had the two legs joined together up to about there. You would have probably seen the photos on my Instagram. And then yeah, once the tail got to the length that I thought it should be at the time, I finished it off like I would the ball, and that's how it came out. My young fella getting excited. So then I just carried on my stitching around the belly, carried it up. I added a couple of extra stitches. I work a lot by eye, so I'll look at something and I'll go, okay, so for the next row I want it to be a bit wider. So every second or third I might add in an extra stitch to make it just that little bit wider. And then once I've finished that row, I'll look at it and I'll go, yeah, that was about right. So then I'll keep it like that, and then I've gone up a few more rows. And I've also done the arms. So what I did with the arms instead, I made them a bit thinner. So the ball has, the circle in the middle has 10 stitches coming out of it. With the arm I just made it so there was only 8 stitches coming out of it. And I think with the tail, when I finished up, I reduced it down so there was only 6 stitches, and then I put a band through those 6 stitches. So that's how that came out, like that. I hope this all makes sense to you, but I'm sorry that I can't do a proper tutorial at the moment. There's so much that I'm working on. I stitched the arms into the body the same way I did with the legs. So basically I just... So for the arms, I had already done each piece of the arms, and I'd come around. You can see where I've followed with my rounds. I've stopped at the exact same point at the back where I've changed my colours, just to keep that effect as if it's been stitched. So when I got to here, I carried on to there where I thought the arm should be. Then I grabbed the arm, which was still open at the end, held it down, so held the two pieces together and stitched the two pieces together as if I was still going. Did a even number of stitches, so that's why it ends up flopping down like that, because I've actually stitched it together that way. And then I've kept going around, done the same thing with that arm. So I've stitched the ending of that arm into where it's joined there, and I don't have to worry about the arm coming apart. I've gone back around. In my next row, I've continued. So where I've started the arm there, my next row I've continued, and I've just carried it up and over on the arm, so I'm still attaching the arm and I'm closing in any of that space, if you get what I mean. So once I get to that last bit there, I keep going with my stitches and I just follow on with the body. And I do the same thing with the other side. I get to there and I grab that stitch where I finished, and I started with that again over the top of the arm, and I kept going around with my body. So, you know, like, it really is simple when you think about it. If you are crochet minded, I never made any of this sort of thing in wool. I find it so much easier to work with loom bands. I don't know why. It's all really patterning when you think about it. You're working in a pattern. If you're going to reduce, you want to keep your pattern much the same, otherwise you're going to end up with big holes and it's going to be obvious. I like to keep all of it pretty, what's the word, like geometrical. It's all fairly mirrored, you know what I mean? Like, I did the ears last. So with the nose, I made the nose as a separate piece and I started in the middle, and I did like half a ball. I should have made the nose a bit bigger. I would have liked his nose to come out probably out here, like a big monkey nose, but I settled for that. Hey, it's first try. And yeah, I like how it turned out in the end. I did the mouth pink to begin with, and I didn't really like it. My partner liked it, but I liked the black better, so I went back to the black. His little nostrils. I just stitched that in from the back of the ball. So I turned it inside out and I got my hook and I stitched and I just pulled the bands through. So on the other side there is a basic chain of stitches, but it's actually helped to give the nose you know, a bit more structure too. So I like that. I didn't have to stuff it too much. And yeah, I did the nose the same way that I did the arms. I stitched it in along the bottom there. As I was following around, I just attached it so it was hanging off as I went around and come back to it. But then when I got to here, see, you can see there's a little bit of a gap. I stitched in and I thought, oh, I might just use some of my crochet or knitting skills, however you want to put it, and just do the flip technique. So I've just, instead of keeping going, I've turned it around, if that makes sense, and I've just doubled back and I've come back. So I've come from this way, grabbed those stitches, doubled back and come back that way, got back to that side, grabbed those stitches, doubled back and come back this way. So you might be able to tell that up until about there it's all perfect. Yeah, see that stitch there, that stitch there, they're all running that way, but then this one's running the opposite way, and then it crosses over again and it's running that way, and then it's running the opposite way, and then once I've gotten to the top here, I've just followed over. So you can see that purple, I've gotten to there and I've gone, alright, that's far enough, and I've gone straight over. So then now that whole piece is attached, and I've kept going around the head, around the head, around the head, got up to there and went, alright, started decreasing. So every second stitch I would decrease. I'd grab two and make it so that one would disappear, till I got to, I think I had 10 like a ball, and I closed it off like I would the ball. So in the end, really, I started at the bottom of the feet and I worked my way up and I finished at the top of the head, and then I just made the ears separately. Before I closed the head off, I made the ears so that I could turn it inside out and stitch it from the inside. So just pulling bands through and then stitched it on. It's basically half a ball, so I think there's about 6 stitches in there, and then once I've got to there, I grabbed my blue and I ended it off and I just stitched across. So yeah, I did half a circle. I did half a circle, and then I've stitched blue across there, and then I think I added in purple and did around, and then I've gone around with the blue again, and I've stitched it in, stitched the ear to the side of the head. So that's how I've got that effect. I think they come out pretty good. I had no idea how I was going to do the ears. I was so nervous about doing the ears. And initially I made the head probably that much longer, but I was running out of bands, so I'm happy that I did do the head that much bigger to begin with, because I conserved those bands and I ended up needing them to close it off like that. So I pulled a lot of the head out, made it shorter, and then stitched around and closed it off. Once I got to the last point where I was going to stitch off the ball, I pushed the stuffing in. I used like a knitting needle to push the stuffing down, and yeah, I added a little button on for his belly button, and I just love him. I just love how he turned out. I think he's just so perfectly imperfect. So yeah, he sits up by himself. He's very cute. Just want to cuddle him and squish him, and yeah, so I hope he lasts, but I don't have high hopes because, like I said, I used pretty cheap bands. But next time I will use rainbow loom bands. He used probably in excess of 4,000 bands, I'd say. I probably had about 1,500 of each colour, and now I've got maybe 150 left of the pink and the purple. So yeah, I'm just guessing. I can't remember off the top of my head how many exactly I had of each band, but I think I had about 4,000 bands altogether, and I pretty much used them all when it comes down to it. So yeah, I am really happy how he turned out though. I think fantastic first try, if I do say so myself. And yeah, you can see his exact shape. He's pretty perfect. I do love him. There's a couple of spots, you know, that I would slightly change. Like I said, his tail, and I don't know, maybe his head a little bit. Definitely maybe his nose just a little bit wider. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Like, band choice does make a huge difference, and these bands are a lot more rubbery. I don't know what the word, they stretch out differently to the rainbow loom bands, but I do like the rainbow loom bands better, of course. But yeah, so I've put the link for Izzalious Designs eyeball down below. This is a little cactus also that I made after making one of her balls. It just got my brain working. I started off at the top and worked my way down, and also I joined it a completely different way. It was very messy, but anyway, that was just one of my experiments, and trying to do a smiley face in there too. Yeah, I think it's gorgeous. I just did a chain of green bands and I stuffed it inside because I didn't like the way the stuffing looked. And then I just kept crocheting that piece down to that part. I did the pot completely separate, and right at the end I joined them together. So it actually sits up by itself as well. It's very cute. I love it. It did have another flower on its head, but my son decided to pull it off. So now it doesn't. But yeah, that's another design that I actually would love to do in the future. But please, yeah, have patience with me because I don't have a lot of time at the moment. But I do love you guys, and thank you so much for your support. I'm sorry this was such a quick one, guys, but like I said, I'm really just trying to get so much done at the moment. I hope this helped, and I hope this really got some inspiration and some creativity bubbling there for you. It's really not hard. Just give it a go. Yeah, try with something simple and see how you go. You know, once you get those basic techniques doing that ball with Kate on Izzalious Designs, she just makes it really easy. And if you have done some other designs, hook only designs, Crafting Fantastic does some awesome, you know, the Retropop flower, and a few more others. I'm sorry I can't name off the top of my head, but yeah, just have a look, have a go, and let that creativity fly. Alright, look for me on Facebook and Instagram @VicStar, and bye!